welcome back to the United Stand, and the race for Victor Osimhen is on, with Arsenal, Manchester United and Chelsea all in the race to sign the striker, the star striker Victor Osimhen from Napoli, who's currently absolutely killing it for Galatasaray. Get your comments in down below. Would you want Victor Osimhen? He's my top striker transfer target, but it all lies on if Manchester United can win the Europa League and secure Champions League football. It's not been outwardly put out there as a statement. Manchester United have to get Champions League football to buy Victor Osimhen. But we had the reports coming in yesterday about Manchester United compiling a list of strikers from Fabrizio Romano of affordability based on what we can afford, how good they are in our list, and we went through them: Ekitike, Delap, Sesko, Gyökeres, Osimhen. Osimhen is a top target for Manchester United. He wants Manchester United. We're going to get into that bit of news in a second. But it all is dependent on if Manchester United have the money to do so, and that could rest upon a Garnacho departure, pure profit, or winning that Europa League trophy and getting the Champions League money. It's massive. It could be the difference between a Delap or an Osimhen. And I think Osimhen is much more likely than Gyökeres at this moment in time. Is that a good thing for you? How do you feel about that? Get your comments in down below. Some news coming in around Osimhen. We'll get the update in from his side. He wants Manchester United. Just do the deal. We need a player like him. We need a certified goal scorer. Go and do it. No more risk, no more potential. Get in the finished article now is what we need. Also, some news coming in around Eze from Crystal Palace. A race for him as well. Crystal Palace have set his price. Not just Manchester United interested, Liverpool interested in Eze as well. Would he be top of your list? He was one that was wanted by everyone. I think Manchester City were in for Eze at one point. Kind of gone under the radar the past season or so, but he's a really good player, England international as well. Would you want him? And also some stuff coming out regarding the Cunha and where we're going to go in that number 10 position. Just looking down there to see the last bit of news I wanted to bring into the show. But let's get into it. Get your comments in. I'm already seeing injury prone from Eze. I'm already seeing huge wages needed to get Victor Osimhen. I have got the evidence to back it up. I've gone through Eze's injury record. I've looked at Victor Osimhen's wages. I'm already ahead of the curve. I'm already going to answer your questions. But on the Victor Osimhen stuff, and this is coming out hot off the press, Victor Osimhen has rejected a move to Juventus. He is particularly keen on joining a Premier League side, with Manchester United, Arsenal and Chelsea among his preferred destinations. Arsenal need a striker. Chelsea were very close to signing Victor Osimhen at the end of the transfer window in the summer. They didn't end up doing it, and he ended up going to Galatasaray. But Chelsea, honestly, they were super close, but they decided to put their confidence into Nicholas Jackson. He actually did all right for them, but is he going to be able to be their mainstay striker for the foreseeable future? They probably do need to go and get another one in. And Manchester United, we know how desperate we are for that experienced striker. Now then, when you look at Arsenal and Chelsea as your competitors, Arsenal, I don't see it. To be honest with you, I don't think he's been linked to Arsenal once. He might fancy them as a destination, but I don't think he's been linked to them once. I think they're more focused on Isak and Gyökeres. So I would, and Arsenal also looked at Sesko in the January transfer window. They were very close to moving for Sesko, and Sam, who works at the United Stand, Sam C Reporters, did tell me it was one to watch out for summer. So I think Arsenal are more around them names, the Sesko, the Isak and the Gyökeres. There have been interest in Gyökeres as well, and that's come from some really good sources. Chelsea, yes, they have massively been interested in Osimhen, and I do think Osimhen would go there, but you have got that competition with Nicholas Jackson. Now, I do think Osimhen starts over Nicholas Jackson. I do think that. I think he wins his place there quite, not easily, but I think he does win that striking position. But in Manchester United, you're literally walking into being the main striker. He was a Manchester United fan, and it's already been reported that Victor Osimhen would still join Manchester United if they didn't even have any European football. He really likes Manchester United. You've seen that picture of him in a Manchester United shirt from years ago. I think we could compete with Chelsea. Chelsea can offer, probably, it's not sealed and done yet, but they probably can offer Champions League football if they manage to finish the season strong. Manchester United might not be able to do that, but it did get reported that Osimhen would still join United without that Champions League football. So I think if we pay the money, we can meet the requirements to sign Victor Osimhen. And though there's already chats coming in saying we can't afford him, his wages are massive, we can afford him because we've got players that we're going to make sales off and we might be able to get into the Champions League. Even if we don't get into the Champions League, I still think we should be going for him. And people say, Beth, we've got no money. We've got some players that we can sell. And I would so much rather invest a lot of the transfer budget into a player that I know will transform this side than get, 5 or 6 really cheap signings in that are all potential players again. Just do it. That is the thumb. Just do it. We need a certified player. You need a Cunha. You need an Osimhen. I mean, do we need an Eze? That's a poll that I would get in the chat running right now. Would you want to sign Eze for 50 million from Crystal Palace? Let's get that poll running while I finish up on the Osimhen chat. Let me just get Osimhen's wages up here, because people seem to be really bothered about weekly wages. For the calibre of player that you're bringing in, you expect him to be high up on the wage bill. So Victor Osimhen's weekly salary at Napoli was reportedly around 207 grand a week, but he's now on a season-long loan to Galatasaray. This other website says that he's on 256 grand a week. And then another website saying he's on 192 grand a week. Let's call it 200 grand a week that Victor Osimhen's on. Would you not pay 200 grand a week to Victor Osimhen, who has put up numbers for the last five seasons? He's been consistent everywhere he's been. He's killed it for Napoli in the Champions League. He's now gone to Galatasaray. I know people say, oh, it's a Turkish league. He's still doing very, very well. He's a goal scorer. Would you not pay 200 grand a week for that? And yeah, okay, we might have to up the wage a little bit. 210 grand a week. 220 grand a week for Victor Osimhen. It's a lot of money, but he's going to be one of your senior top players. He's going to be one of your senior players. We're getting rid of the Rashford off the wage bill. He's on around 350 grand a week. Casemiro's hopefully going to go. He's on our highest earning player on 350 grand a week. Who else is a high earner? I think Bruno Fernandes is on around 350 grand a week, and his new contract, I think it's 300, it's not 350. I think he's around 300 grand a week, Bruno Fernandes, on his new contract. He's the captain of the club. He should be the highest earner. He should be. Mason Mount's on 240. We're decreasing our high earners. So when Sancho goes, who's on 350 grand a week, when Casemiro goes, who's on 350 grand a week, when Rashford goes, who's on 350 grand a week, the top earner you will have at the club would be Bruno Fernandes, who is on 300 grand a week. That's the way it should be. And even some people say that's maybe a little bit high. But Bruno Fernandes absolutely is our captain, is our best performer by a mile over the past God knows how many seasons since he's been at the club, should be your highest earner. But then where are the senior players in the squad? You're bringing Victor Osimhen in at 27 years old to be a senior player. You are bringing him in, expecting him to score you 20 goals a season. That is a 200 grand a week contract. That is what it is. And I think Manchester United would be able to do the wage quite easily, and that would fit into our wage structure. It wouldn't break it. Yeah, it's a little bit on the high side, but I tell you what, I'd rather pay 200 grand a week to a Victor Osimhen, who I know is going to come in and score goals and be a top quality striker, than risk and go for, say, a Delap, who I do think has a lot of potential and is going to be a miles cheaper wage. But you might be sat here having the same conversation this time next year saying, we should have gone for an experienced striker. Delap and Højlund are potential players. They've got good potential. They might go on to be a top striker. Delap, I think, is more advanced than Højlund, but we still need that experience. Just go and pay the money for the experienced striker. You're not breaking the wage structure. You're not going spending 100 million. He's got a 62 million pound release clause. That is a good amount of money to pay for an experienced striker who is at the top of the game and is going into their prime. And then you've got a 220 grand a week wage, which is a bit on the hefty side, but it's not breaking the wage structure, and he's going to come in to be one of our senior players. It makes sense. It makes sense. The issue is the only way you can go for an Osimhen is either if you get that Champions League football, which, it's a cup competition, it hangs in the balance, or you sell at Garnacho. We put a poll out on the build-up show before the Nottingham Forest game. Would you sell Garnacho to bring in Osimhen? Because you sell Garnacho for around 50, 60 million, that is pure profit. Would you do it to bring in Osimhen? 50% of you said you would, 50% of you say you wouldn't. Football is fickle and recency bias is a thing. I think if I ran that poll again now, I think it would be around 70-30. Would. Or at least 60-40. Just because of one performance by Garnacho. But if you actually analyse Garnacho's performances ever since Ruben Amorim came in, is he ever going to fit into that 10 role under Ruben Amorim, competing for Champions League, competing for trophies, competing at the top, the way that we need a number 10 to function? And is he going to be able to do it within the next couple of years? I don't think so. Is Osimhen going to come in and be that experience level striker that we've been crying out for and go straight into that striking position and give you a good... you can never guarantee. I can never sit here and say he's guaranteed to score goals, but it gives you a really good opportunity. Does he take us up to the next level? Yeah, he does. So I'd be interested to see what you guys think about that now. And should I run the poll again? David McCarthy says, Beth, why do you hate Garnacho? I've said this multiple times. Why is it in this... Honestly, I get really fed up with this, because why is it in this day and age you cannot criticise a player without someone saying, well, you hate them then? Why do you have an agenda against this player? I like Garnacho. I want nothing more than for him to be successful at Manchester United. I appreciate what he's done for the club. He looked really promising under Ten Hag. He was a really important part of our FA Cup win over City. I think there's a potential in that player. I don't hate him. How is it me hating a player just because I think we could get better in that position? Wake up and smell the coffee. We are 13th in the league. We don't score goals. Our attacking players need to improve. It's not just Garnacho. The only attacking player we have that is good enough to start for a top club is Ahmad. That is it. Garnacho needs to be improved upon. Højlund needs to be improved upon. Xerxes probably needs to be improved upon, even though he's showing glimpses recently. And it's not, these players won't ever be good. It's not that. They probably will be. Højlund's 22? Garnacho's 20? Xerxes 23? They've got potential, but honestly, that word potential, I would love to see them get 10, 20 minutes off the bench for the next season and play certain games and then be rotated and see them develop, nurture them, develop them in the right way. But I don't think we're going to have the facilities to do that with every single potential player we've got. Højlund's probably going to stay, Xerxes is going to stay. Can Garnacho stay when there is pure profit there and we need money? I'm only having a conversation. When there's 50, 60 million pounds on the table for Garnacho, and you could upgrade on him to bring in the likes of an Osimhen, to bring in the likes of an Eze, or a Cunha, or an Mbeumo, I'm going to have that conversation because every single one of them names I've stated is currently better and would be better in our team and would improve us. So you've got to have them conversations. It's not hating on a player. It's trying to make this team better. And again, I can see in the chat saying, why are you only talking about selling him? What about other players? I would sell other players, but this is why PSR is frustrating and I think it's affecting football in a negative way. I would talk about selling other... Garnacho would not be the first on my sell list. He wouldn't be. But unfortunately, we've got to talk about it because he's pure profit and that's what brings the money in. Anthony needs to go before him. Rashford needs to go before him. Højlund would be up for conversation if he didn't have a book value of around £40 million, so we wouldn't even be able to sell him anyway. It would imbalance the books. There's other players that you would talk about selling. Casemiro needs to go way before Garnacho. But because Garnacho's probably the only player we've got that actually has value, that people are willing to bid for, that is profit, you've got to talk about it. And that I don't like it. That's years of mismanagement by the club, years of poor financial decisions, putting us in this situation where fans have to talk about that. So, yeah, I don't want it to be the case, but that's where we're at. So you've got to have that conversation. And if I said to you straight up, the only way we can get in a Cunha or an Osimhen or some, and these are just names that we've been linked to, or people that are going to be an improvement on our attacking options. Would you sell Garnacho? That's up to you. That's why we run the polls. But I personally would, because we need to improve our front three any way that we can. Shahid Khan says Rashford will solve the PSR issue. Yeah, he will bring in some money. You know, as a academy graduate, pure profit. If we get 40 million for Garnacho, if we get 40 million for Rashford, that will massively help towards PSR. Will Villa buy him? I'm not so sure. And will Rashford try and hold out for a Barcelona? That could take up the whole transfer window. We need to bank on hopefully having that money, but there might be other things that get in the way of that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Would you want Victor Osimhen though? And let me know what the poll's on as well. I can't quite see it, and we'll move on to the Eze stuff. I think we have to go out and get an Osimhen or a Gyökeres. They're the only two senior strikers that seem sort of realistic for Manchester United. You could obviously kiss goodbye to the Watkins, to the Isaks. To be honest, you know, I'd prefer an Osimhen to a Watkins anyway, but Isak would obviously be the top target. But there's no chance on this earth that we can get them players. So out of the realistic top strikers we can get, I think you've just got to go and do it, and that might mean sacrifices elsewhere as well. But would you be willing to do that? I want to start a poll on would you take Eze from Crystal Palace for 50 million, because this is what's coming out. You've got coming out here that Eze to Manchester United ticks a lot of boxes, with Crystal Palace supposedly set to ask an asking price of around 50 million. This is from Caught Offside. Manchester United are reportedly eager to seal the transfer of Crystal Palace attacking midfielder Eze. Would you take Eze at Manchester United for 50 million? However, the same outlet, Caught Offside, and this is what I wanted to bring in, also said yesterday Arsenal and Liverpool are set to battle for Eze this summer. Palace could sell for 60 million, seen as a huge market opportunity. So yesterday you're saying Arsenal and Liverpool are battling to sign Eze, and it's 60 million. And today you're saying Eze to Manchester United ticks a lot of boxes. They've got an asking price of 50 million, and Manchester United are eager to seal that. So who is it? Is it Liverpool? Is it Arsenal? Is it United? And is it 50 million or is it 60 million? Caught Offside, get in touch with me and let me know which one it is. Things can change in football, I get that. Eze's a weird one for me, because I mentioned him on the show probably, you know, when Amorim first came in, because I said we're going to be looking at number 10s to bring in. We're going to be looking at that position, and we are. It's obvious. We are absolutely signing that position in the summer. We're going to sign one player for that position. I wouldn't be surprised if we signed two, depending on the budget. Like I said, we massively need to improve our front three. We massively need to improve our goal output. We massively need to improve our attacking depth. We need to, badly, and we need some experience in that front three. I ran a poll on the United stand, I remember it, and I think I put in the poll Cunha, João Pedro and Eze. There were some Premier League options that we were talking about, and I think Cunha won the poll. I think João Pedro came second, and I think Eze came third, if I'm not mistaken. João Pedro, not a chance. I think Brighton have said they want a similar transfer fee to what you would get for Caicedo, which was like 115 million. No way on this earth, so you can rule that out. We've not even been linked to him. Cunha we've been linked to. We know he's got a release clause of 62 million. Quite a big fee, but the player is absolutely killing it, and he's killing it for quite a weak side in the Premier League. I've got a few friends that are actually Wolves fans, to be honest with you, and I've spoken to them, and they think he's worth that and more. They said Wolves were probably relegated without him. He's been ridiculously good this season. He was good last season, and they think he could play for any team. Probably going to be a bit biased because they're Wolves fans, but they really like him. And then you've got Eze, who was, you know, the player to be talking about. I think it was either last season or the season before. He was linked to Manchester City. He got himself in the England squad for the Euros. And a lot of people are saying he should have been starting more games under Gareth Southgate. he would fit that left-sided 10 role. He can play on the wing, he can play as a number 10, and he would absolutely be an improvement on what we currently have. I know people might not want to hear it, but he would be. When we played Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, I think, was it a 2-0 win to Palace or was it a 1-0 win to Palace? Let me have a look at it, just get up what it was. Crystal Palace here. Oh, it was a 3-0. It was a 3-0 win to Crystal. No, it wasn't. I'm looking at us. It was a 2-0 win. It was a 2-0 win to Crystal Palace and Mateta scored both goals. I remember watching it and I remember thinking Eze is miles ahead of anything we've got in them attacking options. And I see this all the time of fans overrating our players. Eze is really good. A concern is injuries. And I've got up his injury record here. And in the 24-25 season, so this season, he was out for 27 days with a hamstring injury and 9 days with a foot injury. In 23-24, he was out for 32 days with a muscle injury and 20 days with an ankle injury and 30 days with a hamstring injury. So 23-24 season, injuries killed him. 2021, he was out for 163 days with an Achilles tendon problem. So he has had multiple injuries. The big one was obviously the Achilles, which was 163 days. And then in the 23-24 season, to be out for 30, then 20, then 32, that's near enough 3 months of a season you're out for. This season, he was out for basically a month with a hamstring injury, and then he was out for 10 days with a foot injury. So injuries are a concern. They are a concern. He's going to be 27 in, or I think he's 27. Is he going to be 28 in June? Let me just quickly have a look at that one because I want to get it spot on. I was looking at this before. Yeah, he's 26. So he's going to be 27 on the 29th of June. So he's going into his prime. It's kind of the perfect age that we need for that level of experience. What you do get out of Eze is he knows the Premier League. You know for a fact he's technically good. He's quality. He's good at set pieces. He's great at moving the ball. He has got good intelligence. And every time Man United have played Crystal Palace, Eze has run rings around us. I remember him doing it. The issue that you have with Eze is injuries. One plus that you could get out of this is I think Crystal Palace would probably want to cash in. I'm going to be honest. I think Crystal Palace would want to cash in. I think that's why the news is coming out. Like I said, Arsenal and Liverpool apparently fighting for him for 50 million yesterday. 60 million yesterday. Now it's United wanting for 50. Palace might want to cash in because when he was at his peak, when there was loads of interest in Eze and he was getting built up and built up and built up, there was a rumour that Spurs were going to go for him. And there was a rumour that City were going to go for him, but they were priced out the move. They put a big, big, big price tag on his head and they didn't want to sell Crystal Palace and he didn't get that move. Now, they might be a little bit open to getting the money in because he's not the hot topic of the Premier League anymore. You've got other players coming through like Mbuemo's and Cunha's that people are looking at, the João Pedro's. But Eze has gone under the radar a little bit this season, but he is still a very good player. What absolutely scares me to death about him though is the injuries, and he has had problems. Hamstring. When a player's had hamstring issues before, it's tough. It's tough to not have, once you've had a big hamstring problem, it's tough to not have that recurring. You know, the other injuries that he's had, a couple of muscle injuries in there, you just don't want to bring in an injury-prone player. He wouldn't be my top option, but if we signed him, I would say it's an improvement. But like I said, Manchester United, in these attacking options, cannot afford to get it wrong. We have to get it right. We have to. Because we're on a tight budget and we need players that are going to improve us and are going to work. Eze's Premier League proven. He knows how to do it against the Premier League sides. There's no doubt in his ability. My issue with Eze is how often is he going to be available throughout a Premier League season? Because we need availability. We've had look at Mason Mount. I'm not saying he's going to be a Mason Mount. He's fit more than him. But Mason Mount is a quality football player. But we can never use him because he's always injured. We need players we can use. Cunha would be my top option. Top option. I think he'd be a lot of people's top options. I've been speaking about Cunha for months. But he did mention in that interview we did on the international break, I want to fight for titles. United aren't fighting for titles. Arsenal, apparently, very interesting going for him. Their new sporting director signed him for Atletico Madrid, so they've got that connection. Arsenal are probably first in line to go and get Cunha because they are fighting for titles. Although, what the argument you could put to Cunha is we've won more trophies in the last few years than Arsenal have. Amorim's got, we're in the Champions League. If we get that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get Cunha's signature. The only thing that could maybe put us at the front of that queue is Cunha's behavioural issues, his discipline issues, might put Arsenal off the amount of red cards he's had, and the fact that we could get Champions League football if we win the Europa League. So we might not be able to get our top options, and then if Eze is like, a third, fourth option and he is there and you can go and get him, would you want to go and do that? Get your comments in down below and get your vote in the poll. Would you take Eze for 50 million? I think 50 is a bit heavy for the injury problems he's had. I think 40 would be a decent fee for Eze, but I don't know if Crystal Palace would let him go for that low, to be honest with you. I'll go through stats, and stats aren't everything, by the way, because you can have top quality players that don't have the best stats. Stats can deceive you sometimes. This season, Eze has had 32 appearances, 6 goals and 9 assists, and that's so far this season. 23-24 season, 31 appearances, 11 goals, 6 assists. 22-23 season, 40 appearances, 10 goals and 4 assists. So steady returns over the course of the Premier League seasons that he's had at Crystal Palace. Just comparing that to Cunha, you've got 24-25 season, 29 games, 15 goals and 4 assists. So, he's absolutely killing it this season. Last season for Wolves in the 23-24, 36 games, 14 goals and 8 assists. And then in the 22-23 season, I think he came in that season for Wolves, was it halfway through? 37 appearances, 2 goals and 3 assists. So that obviously he's had a big jump for Cunha. Cunha's a little bit younger as well. Cunha's 25 years old. Eze is 26, about to turn 27. So it's only a year or two in it between them two players. Who would you prefer? Get your comments in down below. I want to see what you guys are saying on the poll. I'm going to say no on my vote on the poll just because I think 50 is just a little bit much, but I absolutely would take him. It's really 50-50 on the poll. 52% of you say yes and 48% of you say no for Eze. So the majority of you going for that. It's funny, isn't it, how things work out, because I remember doing this poll when Amorim first came in, and the majority of people in the chat were saying no to Eze. And now as the season's gone on, and I think we've probably all seen how much we need to add attacking quality into our forward line, and how pretty much nearly enough every team in the Premier League has better forward players than us. People are a lot more open to it. We've got a chat in here from Captain T1, says they both play for teams that hardly attack. I mean, to be honest with you, if you look at Crystal Palace, they probably have better attacking options than Wolves. They've got Mateta, who is a force. Eze is a big part of their attack. Cunha, I'm trying to think of players they've got. Strand Larsen started doing pretty well for them, to be fair. Wolves are lower down in the table than Palace. I think both of them are the stars of their team, aren't they? Desire Labonte says, those who want Garnacho out, sorry, they are prats. Why are they? Why are they? Why are they? It's not as if we want him out. We want better. We want better performing players. Lindo says, Osimhen, De Jong and Diamandi would sort this club. That De Jong ship sailed years ago. He's not coming to us. Diamandi, I agree with. Osimhen, I agree with. Kieran Reeves says, I think with Osimhen, he will keep his value if we get him for 60 mil. Saudi will offer us that in 3 years if he doesn't play like we think he will. I just don't see where it can go wrong for Osimhen. The only way it can go wrong is that if we don't feed him, we don't give him the service. And that's something we have to improve. We have to improve the service of this team. We have to make more chances. But as a striker, he's proved it. He's proved he can score goals. I don't see how he wouldn't work. He's got the attributes needed for the Premier League. He's got pace. He's got physicality. He can bully defenders. He's a bagsman. He's clinical. But I do think you're right. I think he would keep his value, and I think there is a sell on there to the Saudi if we need to. Also, he's the perfect age. Say if, you know, there is a future in Højlund. Højlund now is 22, I think. Osimhen's going to be 27 when we get him in. Say you keep Osimhen till like he's 32, a 5-year deal. Højlund's then 27. He's ready to be the leading guy if he does develop in the way that we think he's going to. So I think that works really, really well with Osimhen there. Most people are saying they'd rather have Cunha over Eze, and I think I would have to agree with that. But we might not be able to get all our first options. And I think Cunha is definitely, sorry, not Cunha, I think Eze is definitely a name we need to remember, because we have been linked to him before. He is Premier League proven, and he does tick a lot of the boxes that Manchester United are going to be looking at. But purely from an injury point of view, I need players that have availability. I need players that are going to be able to last a season. We need to avoid players that are going to be in that injury room. Availability is the best ability. But look, everyone, thank you for getting your comments in. Most of you are agreeing on the Osimhen thing. I mean, someone's just said proven in Serie A, but okay. Well, he's gone to the Turkish league and done it as well. The thing is, like, I know that Serie A is obviously a better league than the Turkish league. What more can he do? Like, he's not had the opportunity to come to the Premier League yet. So, he's done it in the Champions League for Napoli. Like, he's literally done it in the Champions League. That's where all of the best teams compete. So, I think Victor, and you just got to look at his attributes. His attributes suit what the Premier League is about. I think he'll be absolutely fine. But look, anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Hit a like on the video if you're not already. Get your comments in down below. Last but not least, I forgot to bring this up. There's reports, but they're not coming in from the top tier journalists. So take it with a pinch of salt. There's reports that Atletico Madrid are interested in signing Antony, and they could offer up to 40 million for him. If we could do that, that would be absolutely beautiful. And it wouldn't surprise me if they are looking. Antony strikes me as the type of player that Simeone would want. Defensively solid, works hard, tracks back, got that hunger, got that aggression, and he's doing really well in La Liga. Some players suit different leagues. Antony clearly suits La Liga really well. He's killing it for Real Betis. I mean, Isco said he wanted to start a GoFundMe page so they could buy him permanently for Real Betis. He's going to, you know, prick up some of the scouts and the recruitment teams in La Liga. And apparently Atletico Madrid are looking at Antony, so that would be absolutely lovely if he could get that done. But we'll see if any more rumours come out about that. You hear these rumours and then nothing really takes up any speed. So we'll see. It'd be great if we could do it though. Look, everyone, thank you for watching. And that would be the example of a successful loan. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Derby coming up this weekend. Are we going to do the double over City? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.